So because of that reason, that they're not living within the state of being the bride of the Christian religion, a lot of the Lord's people, his children, are losing their way because they're going to look and search for other leaders, search for other mentors, other guiders to guide them. But it's not the way of the Lord. It's not in alignment with the Lord. But let me go back to what I was talking about, how I don't focus on religion, and how I found that it was a piece of truth that lives within a lot of religions. The religion, I feel, is Christianity. Though I do not agree with a lot of the things that is happening within the Christian religion and within the people that are supposed to be leaders within the Christian religion. That's a whole nother thing, but that's something that the Lord is dealing with those leaders who are supposed to be guiding the collective of people, of God's people. But also, if you go into like Muslim religion, or Islamic religion, I should say, because you would notice that it's different type of Islamic faiths within Muslims. Like, it's a different type of Muslims, a different type of Islamic faiths. But the one thing I can say that they are good for is their discipline when it comes down to getting the spirit right for the Lord to be able to purge that of which no longer is beneficial, and allowing for the spirit to be renewed in the place of having the discipline to stay on course with what's needed in order to travel the journey that the Lord has called you to travel to fulfill your prophecy, your divine prophecy of why you were born into this world. That's one thing. They create the discipline for that. I do believe that the Islamic faith does that. They're very strong mentally. But when it comes down to the word of the Lord, it is lost in translation. I feel a lot of the things that they believe in, it takes away from the love of God, and it turns into hate, violence, crime. I don't believe that the Lord calls for any of those things. It needs to be reiterated over and over again how God is love. And yes, he does sometimes punish as an act of love. He does. He gives tough love, and he gives that sensitive, he gives that sensitive love. He gives different type of forms of love depending on the situation. It's not just one thing. Stop limiting the Lord to one thing. Stop denouncing the Lord from being able to act in certain areas in your life. That's what I don't really agree with the Islamic culture. And also how they treat their women. I don't agree with that. But if that's what works for somebody else, I'm not going to say that the Lord is not going to come and reach them, because he will. He will step into that religion and come and get you. He will still use you if you called to be used. When the time is right. When it's your time. And when it comes down to Buddhists and their belief in many gods, I'm going to tell y'all this. I'm going to give y'all a quick story about this. If you ever read the book of Enoch, you'll find out why a lot of people believe in people in like the Buddhist culture or within that type of realm of belief system or culture believe in reincarnation. I do believe in reincarnation, and I will tell you why later on. I do understand why they feel as though there are many gods, demigods, and then there is a supreme God. Because what are the angels? What are the angels, y'all? What are the fallen angels? If you ever read the book of Enoch, or if you ever read, let's go to Genesis 6:4. It goes to say, the Nephilim were on earth in those days and also afterward. Furthermore, the chapter reveals that Yah was displeased with man whom he created on earth. As verse 5 goes to say, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of human race had become on earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made humans beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the Lord. He found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And this is when a new covenant was made with the Lord. It was the beginning of the lost Hebrew Israelites. Okay? So if you read the book of Enoch, it goes into a story about the fall of the angels and the demoralization of mankind. And the book of the Watchers, the fallen angels were the Watchers. They weren't fallen at that time, they were just angels. 200 of them decided they wanted to betray the Lord, our God, our Yah, our Elohim, because they wanted to go have sexual relations and intercourse with the women on earth. They wanted to make them their wives. They saw how beautiful they were, and they wanted to make them their wives. So they made a binding covenant within each other that they were going to follow this thing through, because they knew that when Yah Elohim found out, they all were going down. So they made a covenant within each other. The fallen angels, these angels did, the watchers of the earth, they made a covenant stating that they were going to see this thing all the way through, and that they binded themselves on Mount Hermon. You go to the back of the Bible, you will see a map there, and Mount Hermon, that's what the fallen angels, they created that name, Mount Hermon, when they made that covenant within each other that they were going to do this thing and follow it through. 200 of them, y'all. But it was 10 chiefs, 10 leaders, 10 angel leaders, 10 leaders. And under them they had 10. But it was 200 angels that had fallen in that time because of the things that they were doing and partaking in. It goes to say how the angels taught their wives charms, enchantments, the casting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. They made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant and bore great giants whose height was like 1,000 ells. These giants all consumed